student films. Should you use them for showreel footage or not? Will it help me or will it hinder me? I'm going to give you the scoop on all of this and more in today's episode.
You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, unknown actors with me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And for the last 13 years, I've been taking unknown actors with blank CVs all the way to Netflix dramas, Amazon Prime films, TV soaps and stage plays around the world. And every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid working unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready to dive into the episode?
On Saturday the 27th of April at 2 p.m. UK time, one of the most exciting things ever is happening. If you haven't registered your free of charge place at the Business of Acting Raise Your Profile and Book More Roles workshop, now is an incredible time to do this. I'm going to be delivering a full 2 hours of Business of Acting lessons that are very rarely taught, so you are absolutely concrete clear on how to raise your profile so you can start booking more roles immediately. It is going to be so inspiring. You are going to learn so much and you are going to feel so bloody confident after it. I've created a workbook for you, so you're going to have a record of all of the best Business of Acting exercises you've learned, so you can just keep going back to them long after the workshop's finished. We've got a networking group that comes with it, and there are absolutely loads of pre-workshop Business of Acting exercises that I'm going to be dropping before the workshop even begins. I'm going all in with this for you because I want you working. So if getting more acting work is definitely something you're aiming for, you really need to be getting your place in this workshop. And the link is bit.ly/biz of acting free course, biz with a Z. If you don't want to type that into Google, just go and click the link underneath the episode. But obviously listen first and then click it. Right, what are the pros and cons of using student footage in your showreel? I want to caveat this episode by saying I'm not here to be disrespectful to anybody. Student filmmakers are learning just as you are. They're right at the very beginnings of their career, just as you are. And I've got a lot of time and respect for them. Sometimes they get a bit of slack in Facebook groups because they're not paying actors. That's a completely different topic for a completely different podcast episode. So we're going to stay away from that. But we are going to dive into this in detail because what I want for you, I don't care whether you're right at the very beginning of your acting career or you're returning from a break or, you're regularly auditioning. For me, none of that is important. But what is important is that you are showing up as your best self at all times. I also want to caveat this by saying showreels are an ever-evolving marketing tool. If you're not sure what marketing is, I've spoken in depth about this in previous episodes. So if you go back about 2 or 3 episodes, you'll be able to listen all about the purpose of marketing in one of those. But your showreel is one of your marketing tools until you get to, like in the UK, we've got actresses like Sheridan Smith who are regularly working in TV dramas, until you get to her level. And in whatever country you're in, you'll have your own version of her. But until you get to that level, you need a showreel because, she might still be auditioning, but her work is out there in the public domain for people to see, so she doesn't need a showreel. Your work at the minute is not out there in the public domain, so you do need a showreel. You need it to be showing your talents, your casting type, the level that you're at, your brand, all of these exciting things that I've spoke about in previous episodes. So that's the purpose of you using a showreel in your marketing until you get to that level where you no longer need one. So let's get down and dirty then. What are the pros of using student footage? If you're not quite sure what student footage is, it's a student film. So some of you might have already got past being able, doing student films. Some of you might be well and truly in the throes of independent films. But for a good majority of you, you are early on in your career. So using student footage is probably going to be one of those things that you're considering with your marketing. So what would happen is you would do a film with students and then you would pull out your best bits, as in the bits where your talent is on fire and also the bits where it shows your casting type and your brand identity. And where the screen time is pretty much on you mainly and not on the other actors. Of course, we want reaction shots in there, but we do the majority of the time want to be seeing you in it. So what are the pros then of using student footage in your showreel? First and foremost, I think we're going to have to go to the thing which is always on actors' minds, which is money. You don't have to pay for the footage because that's your work. You're giving it for free. That's a massive pro, especially if you're quite early on in your career and money's a bit tight. Secondly, it's also work that you've been legitimately casting, and that can feel good. That's important. Thirdly, you've got choice over the scenes that you can use. Hopefully, you've got a wide range of scenes to pick from. So you're not, you're spoilt for choice and you can go, yeah, I really like this scene, but it doesn't really show me at my best. My talent were a little bit sketchy there. So I've got this other scene that I can use. There's a lot of screen time on me. There's some reaction shots in it. And I take the character on a journey. And that's really, easy to see. And it's short and it's sharp and it's snappy. And that's the other thing, by the way, your showreels definitely don't want to be going on for a century. I am of the thought process of less is more. If I can get my showreel to 1.5 minutes, that's what I'm doing. I know industry people say 3 minutes, but let's be honest, nobody's going to sit there for 3 minutes and watch it. They just don't. By the way, here's a little tip for you, a little sneaky side tip. And these are the kind of things that I'm going to be telling you in the Business of Acting workshop on Saturday the 27th of April, but I really want you to take note of this. Agents and casting directors are not watching your middle scenes in your showreel. There's obviously going to be some exception to the rule there. There's going to be some that do, but the majority are watching your first scene and your last scene, so make sure they are the hottest scenes on your showreel, FYI. So yes, you've got a wide range of choice over scenes, hopefully, when you're using student films. Also as well, this is a real biggie. So if you are brand new or you're returning to the industry from a break, using student footage gets you off the starting block. And that is so important. It is key that you're not dithering around. Because, back in the day when I were training to be an actress, I dithered with my showreel, let me tell you, and it cost me opportunities. I mean, when I first finished my professional training, I was quite lucky, to be honest, and I think this is why I dithered around a bit with a showreel, because I weren't having to really audition for very much stuff. I was getting work through recommendation and a lot of it, and it was all paid work, and I was really, really lucky. But then, of course, there came a point where that ran out and I didn't have a showreel and I was dithering, and therefore it took me way longer than it should have done to get a showreel together, and it cost me a lot of opportunities, like I've already said. So using student footage is going to get you off the starting blocks. You're not going to have this same showreel for the rest of your career. You're going to have this showreel until you start bringing in new projects that you can add on to it. And of course, what you've got to remember about showreels, they're ever evolving as you are as an actor as well. Your talent is constantly in the state of evolution. Well, if you're training it, it is. If you're not training it, it's not. You're going to stagnate. And it doesn't matter how many productions you do, if you are not learning the basics of acting, of method acting, you're going to stagnate. You're going to keep making the same mistakes. So if you're not already a member of the Method Actors Circle, definitely go and join it for a month. Just join it for a month and jump into the classes so you can get that training so you are evolving. But yeah, using student footage is going to get you off the starting blocks. Now, here's another little pro of using student footage. If you have developed a good working relationship with the editor, they might even throw a showreel together for you. How exciting, because that saves you money, right? So we've got lots and lots of pros of using student footage and student material in your showreel. But of course, for this to be balanced, we need to go to the cons as well. And then my aim with this is that you can make an informed choice about what you're going to do. I will tell you a brief story as well after we've gone through the cons about my very first showreel, which did use student footage. And then one that I put together more recently when I returned from a big break from the acting industry. But let's dive into the cons. So the cons are, if the sound is iffy or there are any other technical challenges, it's unusable. It is really unusable because nobody can hear what you're saying. It doesn't look professional. It's really jarring to watch a a showreel where there are technical challenges in it. And even though they are not your fault because you didn't edit it, you didn't have anything to do with the technical sides of it, it actually makes you look like you're unprofessional. I don't think you want that. I can only speak for myself, but I know I definitely don't want that. Absolutely not. I want to show up in the best light possible. The other con is that it can take a very, very, very long time to get the footage back. I've had cases where some of my students in their early career have done student films, and it's took them over a year, an actual year, to get the footage back. Well, in that time, because they've been training with me, the talent has completely transformed and evolved. They might look slightly different. They've had another year's worth of life experience, and now they're not that same person that they were a year ago. And you have to decide, like, is it worth my time waiting a year? It's not always a year. I'm just using that as an extreme example, but it can take a very long time to get that footage back, and you've got to decide how important this is to you. I can't make that decision for you. You know, that's down to you and your career. Like, how much time are you willing to wait? The other con is that it might not be your best work as an actor because you are so early in your career. You're going to make mistakes. Please give yourself grace with this. Don't give yourself a hard time. It's okay to make mistakes. But do you want those mistakes showing in this very important marketing material? Or do you want to put it down to a learning experience and still have the footage but just not use it in your showreel? Again, that's completely up to you. You've got to make the decision. But just know that whatever you put out there in the industry, that is the only snapshot that people get of you. They don't see anything else. So that's something that you need to weigh up and you need to make a decision on. The other thing is, student films can sometimes be a bit abstract and clever. And what I mean by that is they're trying to be artistically clever because they're not thinking about you and what you need. They're thinking about what's going to get them passing their module at university. And that's okay because it is there for them, essentially. I am a big believer that you need simplicity in your showreels. I've tested it out myself with my own. I've tested it out with my acting students, and it is always what works. It's always what translates into, you know, getting signed by agents, getting called into the casting room. I've seen it time and time again. Like if I'd have, you know, kept records of data on this, I would have some good statistics. You don't really need abstract and clever in your showreel, sorry. So I would say avoid that, but that is a con in my personal opinion. Another one is that the direction might not have been great. So more time might have been spent on getting the lighting and the shot right, as opposed to the intention within the scene and the performance. So you have to make a judgment call on this. You will start to learn what good direction is the more productions you're doing and the more experience you have with this. So early on in your career, you might not fully understand that, and that's okay because you're learning. But it's down to you to make a judgment call. Is this good direction, which has allowed you to show up as your best self and deliver a stunning performance, or is it a bit shaky, the direction, and therefore that's had an impact on your performance? So these are the pros and the cons. Obviously, you've got to weigh them up. You might want to listen to this list again. You might want to rewind. Rewind? Is that even a word we use in this day and age? I don't know. But you might want to go back over the list is what I'm trying to say. So let me go to a story then. So I have used student footage in the early days of my career. It got me off the starting blocks, but I used it knowing it wasn't going to be forever. It was just serving a purpose in the moment to get me off the starting blocks. This was after I dithered around. The only thing is, some of the sound wasn't great. So my performance was actually quite intense in one of the scenes that I'm thinking of. It was very intentional. It was a good focused performance, but the sound was shocking and it ruined everything. And I used to get feedback on that all the time. Like, we love your performance in it, but we can't hear it. And we'd really love to know what you're saying because it looks like a really engaging performance. So that was actually distracting and it wasn't serving the purpose of getting me called into the audition room. It was starting to serve the purpose of people going, oh, it's such a shame. I didn't want people to see me like that. I didn't want them to identify my brand with that. And this is what you've got to think with your marketing materials. This is your brand. How do you want people to experience you? What do you want them to think of you when they see your showreel? So with time and learning and experience came knowledge with what made a good showreel. And now if I was struggling to get footage from a recent production, maybe it was taking too long, maybe I needed something fresh because I feel like I've evolved as an actress, I feel like my brand's evolved and I just want to put some fresh energy out there, I would personally always pay. I would always pay a showreel company, but not just NA. I know who I would go to after doing hours upon hours upon hours of research, because this is how seriously I take my acting career, but I would pay because I get full creative control. Money talks, it does. And it's important when I'm thinking about my branding that I get full creative control, because in that I can say, well, this is my casting type, this is my brand, these are the types of scenes that I want, this is what I'm aiming for, and I need this is what I'm after. And when you're paying, you can say that and people will listen to you. But when it comes to freebies, you don't really have that say because everybody's doing it for a favour. So it's not up to me to choose what you do. And I'm definitely not saying don't use student footage. You have to make an informed decision, but you need to feel good about it. And not just excited because you finally got a showreel together, but good that it represents who you are as an actor, your casting type, your USPs. It's good quality work, both technically and performance-wise. And when I returned from a huge break, I'd spent all my time focusing on coaching actors and building their careers up, and I, parked my acting career to one side. But when I came back to my own acting career, I did pay. And it worked. It worked because I'd learned a lot. I'd learned a lot through testing things out with my own students. I'd learned a lot through spending thousands of pounds learning about business and branding. And it worked because I'd evolved as an actress as well in terms of my own performances. And it did what it needed to. It got me an agent. It was getting me in the casting rooms that I needed to get into. So for me, I've had a better experience when I've paid, but that's only come from time, from experience, from learning, from knowledge, from evolving both my performances, my skills, and evolving in terms of learning about the business of acting. What you've got to remember, guys, is this is what you're going to be sending out to directors, casting directors, agents. It's going to be visible on casting sites. So it's out there forever, right? Well, yeah, it is pretty much out there forever until you take it down. But as I've said earlier, it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot of you, and this is the only snapshot people have got of you. So make sure you feel very objectively good about it. What I would always say is, always take a few days away from showreels and then come back to them after the excitement has worn off, because it is exciting to get one. Of course it is. And you're going to be all up in those elevated emotions of, yes, I've got my showreel together, but that stops you from thinking objectively. So once you've got your showreel out there, whether you decide, whether you've put it together using student film or you've paid someone, take a few days away from it, let that excitement wear off, come back to it so you see it with 20/20 vision, objectively, and ask yourself, what does this say about me? Does it say what I want it to? Because when you start thinking in this way, you start thinking in a more business-minded way, and it helps you become more intentional about what you're aiming for in the industry. It helps you get clearer. It helps you take the right steps that you need to take to actually get some momentum going and move forwards with your acting career. So has this helped you? Has it inspired you? Please rate the episode if it has. And then if you want more insights like this and more practical business of acting exercises, go and claim your free place at the Business of Acting Workshop on Saturday, the 27th of April. It's 2 p.m. UK time. I'm going to be recording it. The recording is going to be available for 72 hours, so you can go back over the exercises as many times as you want in that 72-hour window period. The link is underneath the episode. I'll see you in the workshop.
I've absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you found this episode inspiring. If you have, please do rate the podcast and hit follow so you never miss an episode, and I can help more actors like you. And come and join one of the most supportive, uplifting acting communities on socials, the Unstoppable Actors Facebook group, where you'll get your weekly injection of inspiration, networking, and receive your free Method Actors handbook so you can become an unstoppable actor.